There's a real irony here, which is that professors have one job, which is to work in the life of the mind. They don't need to be physically strong. They don't need to have accomplished great feats in business or in corporate America. They simply need to have mental strength. And yet what these professors are showcasing is that they are mentally very weak. They are mentally deficient. They cannot hear any idea that contradicts their own radical leftism. They cannot hear even a basic idea, basic common sense, which tells you that nations must have borders in order to be nations. This sent them spiraling. That one professor, Professor Carlos Tejada, said that he was nearly unable to conduct class. He almost had to cancel class. If you are so mentally fragile and so mentally deficient that you can't have class because somebody else somewhere holds a different opinion than you do, then probably you shouldn't be working in academia. Probably you should find another line of work.
Right, I'm not sure what that line of work would be if you think that saying build the wall is so triggering that you can't show up to work. That doesn't sound like someone that I want to hire. His accusation here is that the phrase build the wall is inherently racist. What say you to that?
Well, there's no mention of race in there anywhere. What's very funny about these students, though, and I'm sorry, not the students, the professors. They're behaving like we might expect students to behave, but they're the professors. They're supposed to be the ones who are keeping charge. Is that at CSULA, you saw a huge example of racism, which is that was where the student organization La Raza was formed, based on an essay called La Raza Cosmica, which is more or less an Hispanic supremacist essay and ideology and organization. So they have no problem with genuinely racist organizations such as La Raza operating out of Cal State LA. They have a problem with someone saying that nations ought to have immigration laws, which has no mention of race whatsoever. This is obviously idiotic, and I don't want to accuse the professor of being unintelligent. I mean, just going off of what we have, he doesn't seem terribly intelligent. But what I suspect is that even rather than a question of his mental abilities is his partisanship. And so he obviously has no place in the academy. He's vilifying many of his students who invited me to speak in the first place. He doesn't seem to understand our system of government. He's currently being paid by my tax dollars, I, an LA resident, he working at a publicly funded university in LA. What I suspect is that he ought to go work for Media Matters. I mean, if what he wants to do is try to get conservative speakers like me kicked off of campuses and get us to lose our jobs, he ought to work at a left-wing organization that exists strictly to push a leftist ideology.
Unfortunately, wait a second. I thought Media Matters actually got you more invites on college campuses because once they said how terrible you were and how Republican you were, conservatives were like, maybe we should listen to this guy.
Well, this is the issue. You know, these guys will target us, whether it's a leftist professor at Cal State or whether it's some ridiculous left-wing organization, operative organization. And a general rule of thumb is if those people are against you, then you're doing something right. I never knew whether or not my speeches or my show was going well until those guys started going after me. And then I thought, okay, we're right on the money.